Don't consider this like a full before you buy style video. This is just a discussion, really, because this game is in a closed beta and not really a full game yet. And this is co-written between myself and Eric Thielenhaus behind the scenes. Now, this is a game that caught our eyes once previews dropped because it was like an Unreal Engine 5 gorgeous looking first-person shooter with competitive elements and a lot of really crazy destruction, and it's called The Finals, and it's developed by Embark Studios. Now, this is a newer Stockholm-based studio existing for about 3 years now, working on both this game and the co-op shooter Arc Raiders. Now, Arc Raiders has been pushed a bit because the Finals development has apparently progressed quicker, according to them. Interestingly enough, Embark Studios was founded by a bunch of former EA DICE developers. You know, the people who worked on Battlefield, and we could see right away from the trailers here that there was something interesting going on, seemingly a pretty cool spark to it. Like we said, crazy Unreal Engine 5 graphics, destruction, some really fast-paced action, kind of almost looked a little bit like crazier over-the-top Battlefield, and it's kind of like that, but it's a little more complicated. So, just so you know, this footage, even though we're not like pro-competitive first-person shooters, it is captured running on PC, and this gameplay is from the closed beta on Steam that seems to run from March 7th to the 21st. Now, big thanks to a friend of ours behind the scenes who hooked us up with a code. You know who you are, and we love you. But so when you're jumping in this game, what are you doing? The only current game mode is called Cash Out, where 4 teams of 3 compete to collect the most cash. Cash is earned by killing enemies, completing objectives, and cashing out these cash boxes, which are found in vaults scattered around each area. You first have to unlock the vault, then grab the cash box, and then take it to this cash out station, which takes a while to give you the payout. To earn the money, your team has to defend the cash out station from other teams who want to take that cash for themselves, so it's a little extraction-y. There are currently only 2 maps. There's Seoul and Monaco, with a few different variations each. Time of day actually can change, along with map conditions like fog or rain, and these mutators, these kind of events that randomly trigger in the middle of a game, like meteor showers, low gravity, mega destruction mode, which everything breaks faster. We'll talk more about those in a bit, but games last about 8 minutes each and are pretty fast-paced and chaotic. This might sound weird, but it kind of feels more like Rainbow Six Siege combined with a Twitch shooter with just splashes of old school Battlefield. Fun thing is, too, you never run out of ammo. Everything is on a cooldown, including rocket launchers and C4 explosives, so eventually you will get a recharge, which changes things up. You know, you're not spending time hunting for ammo or looking on the ground. It can feel pretty good. Gunplay is decent. The sound effects are good. Most guns seem punchy enough. You know, those hit registers have that thwack that you kind of expect when you land hits on an enemy. It's nothing new. A lot of the weapons don't feel like anything new. It's really everything else around it. The explosions, the destruction, the abilities, and ziplining around buildings and stuff. But the shooting itself, as workmanlike as it gets the job done. When you're in it, there's 2 modes, quick play and tournament mode, and tournament mode is structured into a kind of elimination tournament with teams playing through multiple rounds to get to number 1, and the losers are eliminated. There are 3 classes that you can choose from. There's light, medium, or heavy builds, and these seem to pretty significantly change how you play, what weapons you use, and what your specialization is. The light build is the fastest, with low HP but high speed movement, and has specializations that support mobility or make them invisible. We tend to like this one the most. The medium build is the support build, with healing guns and the ability to revive down teammates or deploy auto turrets, and then the heavy build is all about the destruction. They get multiple explosive weapons, a ton of health, and a charge that can smash through like buildings like crazy. So with the destruction, basically everything in the environment can be broken or smashed or blown up, collapsed, caught on fire. And this is the coolest part of the game, because it's everything that isn't clearly marked that can be destroyed. So you could blow up walls, knock down ceilings, fires will eventually burn through the environment, and there's a lot you could do with it, and it's a lot of fun. The way you can blast through things actually adds a lot of strategy to the game. Why attack the entrance when you can blast a hole in the roof, or if you want to protect a cash out station, why leave it on this exposed arena when you can just blast out the floor and have it fall into a place that's harder to get to? Yeah, you see what they're doing here? Even stuff like certain sky bridges in Seoul can be destroyed. When you take out the land bridges like these main access points, it's kind of like the other team has to really think a little bit more creatively about how to get to you. It is very cool how things actually break and become physics objects rather than just disappearing like in most games like this. Wall chunks and blown out floors become difficult terrain to navigate. It can be awkward, but it also can make destroying things almost more dangerous for yourself. You do have to think a little bit. And to circle back with the newer fresh stuff I mentioned earlier, you're not just blowing stuff up, you're using foam guns to block doorways or create makeshift stairs or build yourself a little tower up. You can place zip lines wherever you want to make getting around easier. There are jump pads you can place too, and a lot of this stuff is just fun to mess around with. But for us, it's all about the destruction. Opening up a hole in a roof and then tossing in a few plastic explosives into a building is just so satisfying. Creating a hole under an enemy is always just funny. Sometimes things get out of control and too many explosives create this kind of cascade effect where you can barely keep track of the chaos going on. You're gonna be annoyed by that or just love the chaos. But between that and zip lining around, when it's all good, it can be really good. It's not complicated, but it's fun. And it's worth pointing out, I kind of mentioned before, but the destruction is smartly limited, so it doesn't make the game unplayable. There are enough technically unbreakable structures that it's at least possible to get where you need to go. Like, it doesn't collapse the whole map. You could blow everything up, but like there still needs to be somewhat of a play area. It's smartly done. The game is pretty much all about aggressive play and just good defense, and having a good team seems to be pretty key. It makes a big difference. We struggled, but when we did get good players, it was good. It can be overwhelming at first to new players. It's likely that you'll probably just get demolished for a while because there isn't really a tutorial yet, just a short video roughly explaining the mechanics. And some downer notes here. There's definitely potential for the game to feel frustrating like Siege, but having 4 teams competing at once adds some chaotic energy to things. So even the best players can kind of get blindsided, and luck can favor players who aren't as experienced sometimes in quick play. Having only 2 maps also is kind of a drag, but again, it's in beta right now. Each one is big and it looks nice, but they get repetitive after a while, and having the fog or the rain doesn't really change things up that much. Honestly, we found it kind of lame because fog graphics and like the dark, like it just makes the maps not look as cool. The sunny day stuff just makes the levels and the whole thing, the Unreal Engine 5, really pop. That's personal preference, but yeah. The random events are fun, but we don't feel like they make that much of a difference other than the low gravity one, but we think there's a lot of room here for them to add more cool shit. And while the destruction is really impressive, sometimes it feels like the game is actively underplaying it. Only the heavy class can really cut loose with explosives, but on the other hand, it's easily the most limited class and probably the overall weakest in the game's meta. It just makes more sense to be faster in this game most of the time, it seems, as it rewards twitch shooting and mobility more than hunkering down. At least that's our early impressions. This could easily change. It's all meta stuff. But usually, if you try to defend a location just by setting up shields and camping near the objective, you're gonna die. There are just too many ways to get around in this game. Static defenses are only effective in very specific situations. A lot of times it just seems a little bit better to wait in an ambush. And also the presentation, not very exciting. Maybe it's just us, but like the characters seem kind of bland. The presentation seems kind of generic. It's another multiplayer shooter. And despite the whole game show presentation thing and the flashy trailers, like the TV show type thing, it's here and there, but it doesn't translate over as much. A lot of the HUD and presentation and everything just looks like a mix of stuff we've seen in multiple other competitive games. And along with that, just know it is free to play. So with that, there's the same old free to play mechanics. There's a progression track, daily objectives, and a battle pass. All the same old shit that some of us are really kind of slowly getting sick of, but it's also worth pointing out that the slow drip of equipment is really slow, even for a game like this. Again, beta, but worth pointing out here. We were definitely starting to get a little bored of it by the end of it, but I think it was just the offering, you know, only 2 maps, 1 mode. It's cool to see all that stuff, but it wasn't crazy enough to make 2 maps and 1 mode endlessly playable. There needs to be more. I mean, the destruction mechanics are legitimately amazing, even if the game doesn't really utilize them as well as they could. They feel secondary a lot of the time, like, you know, we were trying to kind of play a different game from everyone else. We just wanted to blow stuff up. But again, all of this could change. The game isn't technically out yet, and when you manage to do something really crazy and unexpected with the destruction effects, it feels really great, so we hope that they lean in on that later on. Like we said, the final seems right now simple and pretty fun. It could become a big thing, it could not. There are so many games out there begging for multiplayer players' time, and there's only so much time in the day, dude. It's hard to get good at one competitive game, let alone multiple, but I think for some people, if the finals really pulls it off and adds stuff, this could be the one you might be looking for. Maybe, you know, like I said, a little mix between Rainbow Six Siege type players, but who want a little bit more craziness, and maybe like the old days of Battlefield, a little Bad Company action. And hey, it's gonna be free, so I guess it's not gonna hurt to try at some point, but that's what we're feeling right now. We just wanted to kind of hash this out with you guys. Again, not a full before you buy. If there's enough interest, we will do that once the game actually formally releases. But for now, let us know what you think of the game. If you managed to get into the beta, we'd love to hear your opinion. And if you just like what we do here, we just talk about games every single day.